Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. We are continuing the Mishnah Yomi, and very exciting, beginning the second parak of Sheviit today on the 20th day of Omer, erev Shabbos, and the first Mishnah in the second parak, Ad Eimatai Chorshin Bisteha Lovon erev Sheviit. Until when may one plow a white field erev Sheviit, the year leading into Sheviit? The first parak dealt with a stay Elan, a field of trees. We define that. Now a stay Lovon is a field of grains or kitniot, legumes, or the like, not trees. Ad shetichle halecha, the Mishnah rules until the moisture is evaporated. Kol zaman shnei bnei adam horshin lita b'mikshaot v'midlaot. So when the moisture's there, that's the entire time people are still plowing in this field to plant their melons and gourds. So even if somebody wouldn't be plowing for the needs of planting grains like barley and wheat and the like, they would still be planting gourds that are going to come up, and melons as well, that are going to come up in the sixth year. So the rule of thumb here is if you're plowing the field now for the needs of this year, to plant this year, and you would do that as long as there was moisture in the dirt, then it would be permitted. But if somebody's plowing erev Shvius in order to plant grain seeds on Shvius, that would be usher. So Amar Rabbi Shimon, Natata Turat Kol Echad Ve'echad Biyado. He says this is a problem because every field is a little different and has varying degrees of moisture, and the owners of the field might cheat a little bit and say, hey, my field's still moist, but it's not moist, it's dried out, and they're really plowing in order to prepare for grain planting. Ella, he says, B'stei Lavan Adad Pesach, B'stei Ilan Adad Tzeres. He says, rather, by a white field, by grains, it's up until Pesach, one could plow, and by a field of trees, as we saw in the first parak, until Atzeres. Now, this is what's called the Mishnah Rishona, the original teaching, and this was in effect when we had the Beis HaMikdash. We explained, Rabban Gamliel said this is no longer in effect. Without the Beis HaMikdash, you could still plow up until erev Rosh Hashanah of the Shvius year. So, God willing, we'll get a Beis HaMikdash back, and this will be completely applicable. Mishnah Beis, Mizoblin, you may fertilize. So hold on. Ume'adrin, and you may hoe. Umikshayus Midalayus, in the gourds and the melons. Ad Rosh Hashanah, up until Rosh Hashanah. Can blaze a shlochin, and so too in a field that needs to be irrigated. Miyablin, we can take a yabelis, meaning cut a wart off a tree. It's a yabelis, famously from the plagues. Mefarkin, you can remove extra leaves. Me'obkin, you can dust, and this might be a dust to treat for parasites or to cover up roots. Me'oshnin, and you can smoke the tree. It means they would burn some sort of herb under the tree that was a fumigation to kill the bugs in it. Ad Rosh Hashanah, up until Rosh Hashanah. Now this is interesting because these are other malachas, other agricultural labors that are only derabanan. They're not deraisa. We'll explain it in a second. Let's just finish up the Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon Omer, afnoitzalhu et ole. You could even take the extra leaves min eshkol b'shvius, from a bundle of leaves on shvius. Halacha is not like Rabbi Shimon. He would say that you could even cut extra leaves off from around the fruit, because you're just trying to save the fruit, not necessarily help it grow. Now these things I mentioned are all asur derabanan, and erev Shvius, there's only an issue of doing things that are deraisa that have an impact on Shvius. So what's actually deraisa on Shvius? We haven't had the chance to talk about it yet, but the pasuk says sada chalo tizra kama chalo tizmor. It says you can't harvest your field or prune your vineyard, and at sviach kitzir chalo tiktzur, the aftergrowth of your harvesting you shouldn't cut, but in nizircha lo tivtzur, and the grapes of your nizircha, hard to translate this, don't harvest. Again, tivtzur is the word specifically for harvesting grapes. Shanat Shabbaton yeh la'aretz. So these things, these harvesting and pruning and reaping, these things are deraisa on Shvius. And then there's also the pasuk we had in Shmos, v'charish of katzer tishbais. From your harvesting and plowing, you shall have Shabbos. So we talked about that was actually extra. We talked about the first parak that was in the, I think it was the fourth mission, the first parak, how those words are actually extra, and they could apply to erev Shvius, and Rabbi Yishmael had said they applied to Ketziras HaOmer, amazingly. But so we see that plowing, harvesting, pruning, these things are asur deraisa on Shvius, but these other activities listed in the Mishnah here in the second parak, these are derabanans. So we'd allow these derabanans to go on up until Rosh Hashanah, because since they're not deraisa, there's no reason to have a gezerah or an extension from the extra of Charish of Katzir Tishbos into erev Shvius. Shkoyach Rabosai.